Hi, welcome to SEO Hangouts with Josh Bachynski. That would be me. I'm the Joshiest Josh Bachynski of all the Josh Bachynskis in the world. Now with 20% more Josh power. Today I have an SEO Hangout for you of epic proportions. John Mueller and Gary Isles and all the other Googlies have been leaking their Googles all over the interwebs. And they've been giving a lot of good information for SEO. And so I'm going to go through and talk about the information for SEO that they've given. And I'm going to go back a little further and go through some more of the highlights. Because in the end of last year and the beginning of this year, they've really just been dropping the SEO bombshells. I think mostly because they think that, now if RankBrain is out, that we can't really possibly do anything about what they're doing. So they don't care. They're just kind of telling us stuff. So I'm going to go through all that kind of stuff right now. So back on December the 15th, Mr. Mueller had a hangout of the SEO variety. And he said a number of things. One, I mentioned this before, but just to keep in mind, your on-page stuff is still very, very important. So remember, I put out a video for SEO in 2016. You can find it at j.mp/SEO course 2016. That's j.mp/SEO course 2016. No spaces, no punctuation, except for the slash on the top. As the interwebs kind of thing he has. And anyway, and in that I talked about on-page SEO. On-page SEO is still very, very important. In fact, it's the primary ingredient. It's the main factor, right? What your site is about is the main thing. And so there's still ways to do it that will help you rank. And John Mueller mentioned one of these here in this Hangout on December 15th, that the title tag is still a ranking factor and the meta description is not. So the title tag still has to have your keywords in it, preferably one keyword for that page, or whatever that page is supposed to rank for, the main keyword. But remember, the title tag also has to have a call to action in it, and it also has to build value. So instead of red apples, pipe, red apple, pipe, buy red apple, it should be, wow, get the best red apples here, 2016, that kind of thing. It builds value, has a call to action, stands out, has a date signal. That's the kind of stuff that you want to do for the title tag. If you want to know more about the on-page SEO stuff, either email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at joshbachynski, or you can watch more videos where I go over other details like this at youtube.com/jbachins with crazy SEO leaks, SEO experiments, and sometimes SEO freebies like I might do today. Today, I might be doing an SEO freebie for you. Maybe, if you're good, we'll see at the end, so you have to wait till the end. Listen to me droning on, and at the end, I might have an SEO freebie for you. Okay. Back to John Mueller. On December 15th, when he was asked about 2016 SEO, John Mueller fairly blatantly admits that they are looking at user experience. Just as the SEO blogs that he was reading, some of the blogs that he mentioned, the blogs that are saying they're talking about user experience, he said yes. And they want to bring sites that are, and I quote, doing it right for users. There's no mention of page quality. There's no mention of static on-page factors. There's no mention of high-quality content anymore. He talked specifically about user experience and the pages, the websites that are doing it right for users. So, I know I've been saying this for years now, and now everyone else has started to get on the bandwagon and realize that user experience measured directly by user actions, including clicks and even possibly mouse movements, heat map tracking, things like that. Conversions, bounce rates, internal bounce rates, stuff like that is stuff that they are directly tracking and RankBrain is using to process what is a good site or not. Because that would be the best way to know. So if you've been hiding under a rock, don't do SEO like it's last year. Don't even do SEO like it's last year, never mind 4 or 5 years ago. I still have clients. God bless them. I love them. Please don't stop being my client when you hear me say this, but who think that blogs are a good idea, are still going to work and help you rank, and still think that you need to go buy links, and still think that things like this, it doesn't work that way anymore. It is so not working that way anymore. A blog is not going to help you unless you're willing to have the best possible blog on the subject, like magazine level quality. And I mean magazine level quality. Like you're going to get a photographer to do a $10,000 photo shoot with models, and then you're going to get an article writer to write a $5,000 article for you, and that's your publication for that month, right? If you're not going to go to that level of extreme of quality, then don't. Then it's not going to work. It's not going to help you. And quite frankly, Google wants a one-to-one relation these days. If you sell sprockets, you don't want to blog about sprockets because no one gives a shit about sprockets, quite frankly. You don't give a shit about writing about it. You're scraping the bottom of the barrel to come up for content for your sprocket crap blog. And nobody wants to read it, surprisingly enough. They wouldn't want to read it if it was the best possible sprocket article online ever. And even if it was the best sprocket blog online, no offense to those people who are selling sprockets on their website and may have a blog, even if it was the best sprocket blog online, it's not going to help you rank in Google for the queries you want to rank for. It used to work that way. You could rank for long tail and Google would build up your authority and then they would start ranking you for hit terms. It doesn't really work that way anymore. Google wants a more one-to-one, because RankBrain's going to come in there and just punch you out if you're not highly optimized to be a transactional site. So, and the query relations just don't seem to work that way anymore. Hummingbird seems to be understanding entities differently, and they understand this is a blog website. We serve it for blog queries. That's the way Hummingbird and RankBrain work. It doesn't work like it did in 2008. So please, 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 R2D2, please stop making blogs. And because that's what Panda was made to eat, was blogs. Stop making blogs. You want to sell sprockets, you have to have the best site selling sprockets that has the best sprocket prices, easiest to find, super fast, super modern professional looking, a pleasure to use the website, a pleasure to buy on your form. That's what you need. And then you need all that kind of blogging, talking about myself, marketing crap that Google makes us do. You do that on the social channels. You go on the social channels, you start doing that in those kinds of places. And now, when I say that, I do not mean that you go on to your social channel and just start putting crappy blog posts there, because that's not going to help at all either. You have to do that differently. Of course, social is like a party. You need to go on, and this is all in my 2016 SEO course. If you haven't watched it, please go back and watch it. SEO is like a party, and you don't go to a party with like a pamphlet and give it to people and walk around giving them people a pamphlet. You will be the pariah. No one is going to like you. No one's going to like your party. No one's going to stage your party. Social channels are like a TV channel or like a party. You have to have good programming people like to consume. And on social media, it takes that means like a 5-second, 10-second consumption. So you don't want to put your blog post there unless people really love it, or like once in a while maybe if it's really good and really relevant. But quite frankly, that's not the way that works either. So now let me go through here to see what else John Mueller said. Also, for the on-page stuff, if I was talking about, you also want one level 1 heading, and you want that more or less at the top. So you want your keywords in the title, you want one level 1 heading, you want your keyword density be around what your competitors are doing, maybe a little bit less, but quite frankly, it's not required. Google only needs to know what your page is about. If you take your URL and you plug it into the Google AdWords Keyword Planner tool, and then the queries it comes back for what you should bid on are what you want to rank for, then they know what your page is about. They already know what your page is about. You don't need to stuff any more in there. You could if you really want to get finicky about it, and there's some evidence to suggest that higher keyword density might rank you a little bit better, but that's not necessarily the case. Now on December 29th, John Mueller had a mega end-of-year hangout, and I've said a bunch of crazy stuff he said in that hangout. I'm going to say even more crazy stuff he said in that hangout because he said even more. He said he maintained that changing your template, your web design, can definitely and directly affect your rankings. If you do everything well and make it more nice, you will improve your rankings, and if you break it, you will definitely decrease rankings. So that means to me that they are looking at the design. Remember, they made us unblock all our CSS and JS, and they're showing us what Googlebot sees and how it renders the page in Webmaster Tools. They would not do that if it was not important, R2D2. So you have to do that. You can't block your CSS and JS. You have to have a good modern design because it means something for rankings. I think it's entirely possible that they will just derank you if you look like you have a 1997 design. but they will definitely de-rank you if users think you have an untrustworthy design and they're bouncing from your site or not converting. Also, and that directly goes to this point that he directly said after this, he mentions you need a new design because, and only because, of the way the user views it. And this is directly related to Panda. So once again, he admits that Panda is user experience based, that implicitly means tracking clicks or user actions of some sort. And I think I know the user actions they're using because of the patents that they've put out and the things they have access to. And some of the research that I've done and some of my black hat, even sneaker friends have done. So it is because of user metrics. So you want to have a modern design, otherwise you're going to turn people off. That's just the way that it is. Okay, now, also in the same Hangout, it was mentioned that maybe Google was using the WHOIS information. Now remember, back in the day when they leaked the Quality Raters Guideline, in the Quality Raters Guideline, one of the facets of whether there's a quality site or not were precisely the WHOIS information. If the WHOIS information was private and if it was of a reputable company with all reputable business information and was a 5-year registration. Anything less than that was considered one signal that it might be a low quality site. And so this was mentioned to John, and he did this. I'll do the face he did. He went like that. That was his answer. So you can interpret that however you like. If you want to roll the dice, you can roll a dice and say no. When I roll the dice, I get Yahtzee. I say yes. Yes, that is a signal. Dagnarmit. Or at least, so don't go back and change it. I mean, if you have the chance to change it, if you're going to choose between private registration or fully upfront registration of a legitimate business, legitimate business signals, and 5-year registration, I would do that because it is a possible quality signal. It doesn't hurt you at all to do that, unless it does, in which case then don't. It's going to be a minor signal at best, if it is. But in the same conversation, in that Hangout, John Mueller strongly advises not to use pop-ups, including to retain traffic. That would also include interstitials, pop-unders, CSS floating boxes, anything the user has to click past or annoy the user. He specifically said that annoying the user is a bad idea with these pop-ups, and you should not be doing that. Here's an interesting thing. I'm not really sure what to make of it. And I've been tracking this kind of idea, this problem, for a while. I'm not really sure how it works yet. But so someone asked, what if I have a site that I use the hreflang and I spread out, I have 10 languages. I have a 10-language site. That's a crazy site. 10 languages. Even R2D2 couldn't make sense of that site. Sorry, it's the cake. I'm eating cake. Who knows what's in this cake? I do live on the West Coast. Who knows what could be in this cake? So I put a little globe all on them. Anyway, so if you have a site, you have a site with, good cake. If you have a site with 10 languages, John Mueller said not to do that, which is interesting. Why? I wonder if it's because they don't seem to like bigger sites. They don't seem to like diffusing the link juice across multiple sites, even if your hreflang is set up correctly, because it shouldn't hurt you, right? If your hreflang is set up correctly, then that should diffuse your link juice and diffuse the signals correctly across all 10 subsites, and there shouldn't be a problem. John Mueller said this would not be a good idea because of more of a thin content. It diffuses what your site is about. So they seem to have an algorithm that says, okay, you've got 1,000 pages about 10 different topics. You're kind of dividing your quality score, your relevance score by 10, so to speak. Again, this is my kind of interpretation of all the theoretical stuff John Mueller has hinted at. But it seems to me it works something like this, either directly, and it could be directly, it could just be the cake talking, or indirectly. But think of it this way. Like he's like, if you have a 1,000-page site and it's on 10 different topics, then it's like your relevancy score for RankBrain trying to figure out what you're about, so they know to serve you, is divided out amongst 10 different things. He's also said many times not to have a multi-topic blog. Don't have a blog with a chiropractor article and then a legal article and then a herbal pill article. Right? Don't do that. That looks very spammy, but also probably divides the attention of RankBrain and Hummingbird. They're new major algorithms that are ranking sites and doing their semantic latent indexing and determining what a site is about. Is it about reindeer heads, or is it about Peter Lick photographs? You know, what is it about? You can't have Peter Lick photographs and reindeer heads on the same blog. If it's supposed to be about Peter Lick, then it's about Peter Lick. It's supposed to be about reindeer heads, it's supposed to be about reindeer heads. Again, forgive me, it could be the cake talking. But even if it's in the different languages, it seems like, so that's why I think it's just a simple algorithm. It's like, okay, you've got 1,000 pages and it's divided amongst 10 different things. We don't know what it is. So we're going to de-rank you to some extent. Or just statistically, you're going to not rank well because other sites are pooling, or they're doubling down all their content on one thing. And so Google is more sure that they sell red shirts. So here's the red shirts, right? Your whole site is devoted to just selling red shirts, not selling red shirts and also a blog about shirts. Because again, that's a problem we talked about before. And that also could be the same problem as it's dividing the content, the semantic of what you're about. And he went on at length about this. It's not a minor thing. So this is something important. So again, I'm not really entirely sure what's going on there, but something is going on there. So don't do that. Don't do that just because you want your site to convert. You don't want to have all this extra bloat of pages for the reasons I already said. The blog's not going to help you rank for head terms, for transactional queries anyway. It's just going to make just leaves your ass blowing out there in the wind that a panda can bite you and pull the whole thing down. How do you like that metaphor? Okay, on January 20th, a different Google employee, Andre, had another hangout, another Q&A at Web Promo Expert. And he mentioned something very interesting. He said, he implied that if he was asked about cleaning up your link profile. He also confirmed, by the way, before I say this, he also confirmed, by the way, that yes, it is RankBrain that is doing the majority of their semantic score, their semantic latent related indexing, because there was this debacle back in January where Dick Cheney, that lovely guy, Dick Cheney, was showing up for searches for Darth Vader because it had a moderate semantically related score. And that was what they were talking about. And then, so Andre, who works for Google, he works in the same office, not the same office, but the same role as John Mueller. He's a web quality trends analyst, whatever their title is, something like that. He's not a programmer anyway. He essentially works in the QR/PR team, the quality control / public relations team. And he later admitted it was RankBrain doing this, that RankBrain, their artificial intelligence, got a little confused that because when people were searching for this, they clicked on that, and that's how you manipulate it. Just like back in the day, you could make Google think that George W. Bush was a big raging idiot if you put enough big raging idiot links pointing to a page about George W. Bush. So now it works the same way for queries, and people search and click and go. So then they asked him about, okay, well, what about Penguin then? And he implied you need to delete your links, not disavow. The interesting thing about when he was asked about Penguin and what people should do for Penguin and clean up their link profile, he did not mention the disavow file once. Not once. Not the only, in fact, Gary Ilyish doesn't mention the disavow file ever either. The only person who does is John Mueller, and that's probably because he was told to say that. So John Mueller is off in the reeds when it comes to disavow file information, more or less. So he didn't mention the disavow file once. He said if you have any linking problems, you have to clean up your link profile. You have to delete these links. So I found that interesting, and that was moving forward, talking about where Penguin is going. So again, I don't think disavow is going to work for Penguin, guys. I'm sorry. There's so many reasons why I don't think that is. If you want to know these reasons, by all means, email me. I'll tell you at joshbachynski@gmail.com, and or just go watch my previous videos where I rant on at length, and so I will not do more here. He also admitted, this was fascinating as well, he fully admitted, like complete point blank, said that we already know the, quote, desktop user journeys. The desktop user journeys. In other words, he says that we're talking about watching user clicks and user behavior, and he fully admitted that they already know the complete desktop user journey from from before the search query to the search query to what they click to what they go on the site to what they click on the site to where they go on the site to where they convert and then what they do after that, or they don't convert, do after that. He says they already know that all. And he said they're starting to learn the mobile user journeys, quote unquote. So I find this extremely fascinating for a number of reasons. Remember, there's a thing called Safe Browse on the desktop. Safe Browse is the feature in Chrome where they have a giant database of all the malware, suspected malware sites, and they will pop up the red screen and say you're going to go to a site with malware, that kind of a thing. You ever wonder what technically has to go on behind the scenes for them to do that? Well, technically behind the scenes for them to do that, they have to check every URL you're going to and compare it to their database. And if it's in the database, pop up the red screen of death and say, don't go there, right? So Chrome has to watch everything you click on. And another SEO, a black hat SEO, by the name of John Limbacher, he put on a packet sniffer onto a computer, and they checked whenever they're clicking around a website, they found all these packets were getting sent off to Google to tell Google what was going on. And of course, remember, this can all have a timestamp involved on it as well. And the interesting part, so I've already reported on this over a year ago. Interesting thing about that is that they never had Safe Browse on mobile before because mobile was so slow, they didn't have Safe Browse on mobile. Now they just recently in the last few months, maybe the last 6 months now, have introduced Safe Browse on mobile, right? So that's why they used to have all that mobile stuff in Search Console. You used to have you have static design issues because they couldn't track the user metrics. Because it doesn't really matter how your site looks to them. They're not so conceited as to realize that their view of how a website should look shouldn't be everyone's view, although for years that's how they operated. Now that they're tracking user clicks, they're like, okay, well, let's just see if the users like it, great, then that's not a problem. If the users don't like it, then it's a problem. So anyway, it was very interesting that Andre said that they're starting to learn the mobile user journeys, and they just also recently have allowed Safe Browse on mobile. So I found that very interesting. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk to you about is, I already told you this stuff. I already told you everyone have a little piece of cake. No, cake is good. Okay. So on January 26th, Little Mr. Mueller had another hangout. And he says, he reminded us at that time that URL parameters are a crawling, indexing, and potentially a ranking issue from either duplicate or thin content, but also it's quote unquote low quality. He called it low quality. And they don't like it, he's called it cruft before, URL parameters and session IDs, he's called cruft. And they don't like it being the canonical. They don't like having to decide, because you're forcing them to decide what pages they should be crawling, what pages they should be ranking, what pages are the most important, what this site is about. That makes them do a lot of processing. And so they're starting to get quite draconian in not letting you have any URL parameters. So I would not have any URL parameters in your navigation. I would not have it in your main navigation. I would not have URL parameters in your sitemap. I would not have URL parameters in your URLs if you can avoid it. I mean, I know that's a crazy thing for me to say because billions of sites have URL parameters, legitimately so. So don't go just changing your URL structure just because of this reason. But if you have a choice, always canonical back to some non-URL parameter thing, and don't put always in your navigation have non-URL parameter URLs in there. So it should go to redapples.com/redapples, not redapples.com/redapples ? Variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, variable 4. Because that's the kind of cruft that they're looking at trying to remove. And if you make it difficult for them, then they're not going to like it. Don't ever make it difficult for Google. Okay, now, here's something that was fascinating. A different Google employee, Gary Ilyich, or I used to call Gary Isles, but I've recently heard his name pronounced by him properly, and it's more like Ilyich. So that's how I'm going to say it now, because I'm polite, even though I'm not very fond of the guy. I'm Canadian, so I'm nothing if not polite. He was interviewed, Gary Ilyich, yes. Gary Ilyish was interviewed by Eric Eng and Mark Trippenhagen, something like that. There are some big time SEOs in the industry, and they're all whitey hatty and buddy with Google, and so they get these kind of interview things like that. And they interviewed Ilyish, and they didn't really say. They said some interesting stuff. But what Ilyish was not willing to answer was even more interesting, I thought. So, for example, Eric Eng just tried to pop a couple questions on him, and he asked point blank if machine learning is used in Penguin. They're talking about machine learning, all this new thing, and then he just said, "So is machine learning used in Penguin and Panda?" And Gary shut right down, just like, and emphatically he said, "I will not comment on that." That was his answer. I will not comment on that. So the answer is yes. Yes, machine learning is used in Penguin and Panda. If his surprise answer was I'm not talking about that. If his surprise answer to that question is that, well then yes, clearly it is in some way, shape, or form, and in an important way. Otherwise, he wouldn't have clammed up so much. He would have had a much more. He didn't know what to say yet. They haven't formulated a public relations answer the way that's as good as John Mueller's public relations answer to that. Next, Gary admitted they are running Penguin experiments. So he was interviewed, just so you know, February 11th. And so he admitted that they are running Penguin experiments internally. Because he was asked, when is Penguin coming out? Blah, 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 blah. Some people still care, apparently, about Penguin because they think that their sites are going to pop back up to where they were over a year and a half ago, not realizing that the web has entirely changed since then, that Google will probably never want them to pop up, that all their links are gone or deleted or disavowed or changed, and all the links of their competitors are gone or deleted or added or disavowed or changed. And links, the signal that links gives you has been decreasing year after year. Now that they're using social more and just text mentions and URL buzz more and brand searches more as offsite references and offsite schema and ratings and reviews, they don't have to use links anymore. So for some reason, some people clinging on to the belief that the great spaghetti monster will tongue poking out of my cheek entirely. Some kind of dogmatic, faithful belief are believing that when Penguin runs again, everything will be fine. Of course, this is not the case. Even if they ever run Penguin again, which who knows if they ever will, you're not going to just suddenly see. The chances you're going to see some sudden ranking back are, you might as well start believing that angels are going to come down from Mars and cure your sister's whatever hangnail or something like that's. This is starting to become ridiculous to think like this. So, as you well know, my dear listeners, I have a lot of sympathy for people who've been bitten by the Google bug. In fact, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a documentary about it, and I will be releasing that very shortly. It's coming. And I also did a TED Talk on the matter, which you can watch if you like. Go to my channel, or the TED Talk is at j.mp/JoshTEDx. However, that being said, so I'm saying this with all due respect and sympathy to those people who've been bit by it. But however, in this case, get over it, because I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. You're not going to get any miraculous recovery. You should have been doing other things to try and improve stuff all this time instead of holding your breath waiting for Penguin. Or just, you shouldn't be holding your breath waiting for Penguin. It's probably not going to help you that much anyway. However, that little rant aside, Gary Isles did mention they are running the Penguin. This is February 11th. He did admit they were running Penguin experiments internally. Remember, around that time, we did see some fluctuation, some Penguin fluctuation around that time. He says that you cannot see that externally. I call bullshit. You can definitely see it externally. Invariably, they always have to test algorithms externally to some degree before they run them. It's just part of their testing procedure. He claims they will not release it until they're satisfied. And he also said, and I quote, Penguin can very strongly affect a page. We want to be sure that page should be affected. I repeat, he said, and I quote, Penguin can very strongly affect a page. We want to be sure that page should be affected. So quite frankly, negative SEO is the concern there. So it's good that they're trying to take very strong negative SEO protections as part of Penguin. So they're not completely unethical, which is good. They're still going on that mandate, even though Matt Cutts doesn't work for them anymore. And he also talked about first there was, and I quote, first there was a lot of root tuning on Penguin, and then there's a fine tuning after that. So he talked about root tuning and then fine tuning. He said the root tuning was fast. So I can tell you what's going on there. They took RankBrain, took the machine learning, ran it on the disavow set, came up with a statistical percentage of a statistical profile of a link that's probably penguinable, and there they had it. I mean, boom, done in a day. And then it was all the negative SEO that they thought this is probably negative SEO in these cases, and they're trying to write an algorithm that would ignore that as well, and they can never quite get it down to the fine point they want. So either one, it's great that, and remember this Penguin's going to be core Penguin, so it's going to be running part of the core algorithms that runs on a regular basis. That's another reason to believe that the disavow file is not going to work. Because if they were going to let the disavow file work, like my SEO compatriots claim it does and charge people under the fake belief that it does work, then who cares about negative SEO? Just release the core Penguin, let it hit whoever it will, and then they can just disavow out of it and just move on. Google is caught in this strange ethical catch-22 where they want to punish the people who have been spamming their algorithms because that's wrong. At the same time, they don't want to affect people by negative SEO because that would be wrong. And their stupidity is banging into each other. They should just realize they should just take the high road and not punish anybody, because who the fuck are they to punish anybody, if you forgive my French, and then just let people disavow out of it, and then the problem is solved. But of course, the problem for them is not solved because they don't care about people or don't care about the web results. They care about money is what they care about. And it costs them money to process all these links that spammers just continue to make, and then that's not saving them any money to run a disavow file, because now they have to spend more CPU cycles, and CPU cycles cost money. And when you're doing the trillions and trillions of CPU cycles that they're doing, even if it costs like 0.00001 cents per CPU cycle, that's costing them many hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars per year. So for them, it's just simply money, of course. So I don't think the disavow file is going to work, because if it was, then they wouldn't care about negative SEO. And plus it's not saving them any money to let the disavow file work. It's only saving them money to fire manual people who work in their manual team, to fire them so they can just have that run algorithmically. Again, being the very ethical company they are, they'll gladly fire all those people and then just have the algorithm run it. Stealing more American jobs. Actually, these are Indian jobs. It's probably their huge data center over in India that they established January 2012, which they have around 12,000 employees. At least they did at the time. Who knows what they do anymore? They haven't been doing the whole raft of manual actions like they used to be doing. Which is also the reason why I think they're even releasing Penguin in the first place. Like, why do they keep doing this Penguin thing? Like, they have a spam algorithms that continuously run and pick links that don't look good and ignore them, right? Again, fed by the machine learning of the disavow file. This is fairly common knowledge if you've been paying attention to Google and paying attention to me and other people who in the know who know what they're talking about, how this would work and what's going on. But the reason why they're going to do a Penguin is so they don't have to have so many manual actions. At some point, for the edge cases, they have to bubble that up, and a human being has to look at it and say, spammy, yes or no, and you get a manual action, you get a manual penalty. They don't want to have those thousands and thousands of people working for them doing that, so they get an algorithm to do it. And that's why they'd be releasing this next Penguin. And they just want to release it on a core or ongoing basis so that people like Barry stop asking them, heaven forbid, Google be held accountable to the lies that they heard. So on that note, I should probably quit. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, if you want to ask me if you want me to rant more, hey, dude, I can rant more. I even have cake, rant-filled cake, with little nuggets of rantery. See, that's a little rantery nugget right there. But if you want to ask me any SEO questions, that's a good idea too. Again, you can contact me, joshbachynski@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at joshbachynski. Watch more videos like this. Oh yes, and my special gift. My special gift, see, I had some cake. I had some SEO cake. And that was my special gift. Well, your special gift is for spring, because it's spring. Well, at least where I live, it's spring. no snow, it's all green. Yeah, flowers are coming up because I live in a better place than you do. Oh, sorry. I mean, because I live on the west coast of Canada. And so, he's eating cake and he's insulting us, the bastard. Well, to make it up to you for being such an ornery bastard, I'm going to give you a special spring special. That's right, spring special for you. I'm going to give 30% off on all my SEO audits for the next, I don't know, month or so or something like that. So yes, that's right, 30% off my SEO audit, my 5-hour SEO audit, which is crazy powerful, by the way. I just added 3 new factors into it to test for. People who get my SEO audit and follow it rank better, period. That's what happens. 3 to 6 months, if not sooner, it could be 2 to 3 weeks actually, depending on what I see, what's going on, what's wrong. They sell more, they get more traffic, they rank better, their business does better. I've literally saved businesses. So I can do the same for you. For a limited time, because it's spring, and because I was eating cake, and who knows what's in the cake, because again, as I said, I'm on this West Coast thing, you know. I'll give you 30% off for my SEO audit. And you have to contact me, and the subject line for the email has to be SEO cake. Yeah, SEO cake. Or, whatever, just mention it. Or RTD2, one or the other. And yes, and I'll give you a 30% discount. So there's the prize I promise at the end of the nugget box thing, whatever it is. So again, thanks for watching. That's been an SEO Hangout from Josh Bachynski. Tune in next week when I will eat more cake. Let them eat cake. Well, I will eat more cake and give you more SEO goodies, experiments, and in fact, I think the next video I'll do is going to be a tutorial on how to do keyword research on Google's AdWord Keyword Planner. So that should be really cool. So again, if you have any SEO questions, email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at joshbachynski, and you can see more videos like this where I have cool SEO secrets and knowledge at youtube.com/jbachins. Good luck in the SERPs, and we'll see you next time.